We've got it figured out. Well, welcome everybody to Maximize Your Impact, Personalized Learning and AI. I'm really excited that everyone's here this morning, and we are going to drop the presentation link in the chat, and feel free to ask questions in the chat. We've got Vera Cubero here. I'm Stacy Lovedahl. For those of you who don't know us, we'll do some introductions here in a minute. And we want to try to make this as interactive as possible. So we will interact with you guys in the chat. I've got a Padlet. I've got a Mentimeter to gather some information and everything. So we're just really excited that you're choosing to spend the morning with us to learn a little bit about personalized learning and a little bit about AI or generative AI. So let me go ahead and share my screen, and we will go ahead and get started. Let me get back to the correct screen here. There we go. Okay, so here is the intro. So let me click over here to our agenda. So I'm really excited about this combination of AI and personalized learning. I've been kind of a fan of personalized learning going all the way back to flipping my classroom in the early, I guess, mid-2000s, before I really realized that it was a version of personalized learning. So our agenda for today is to kind of start off with why, and then go through some of the background about personalized learning in North Carolina and some highly effective strategies, and then really kind of get into how AI or generative AI tools can help with the personalizing your classroom. And then at the very end, we'll wrap up with some Q&A and a bonus AI bite. So we'll save some time for that. But if you've got questions along the way, definitely put them into the chat and put them into the Padlet. So we'll save some time at the end, but I also want to make sure that we talk along the way as well. So if you would, if you're in the presentation, go ahead on slide number 2 and click on this Summer of AI Padlet and jump over there. And I'd like you to take a second and look at these agenda topics and just, kind of give me a feel for what you are most excited to learn about in the next 55 minutes or so. And in that Padlet, I'm going to click on it and open it up here. In this first column, I am saving all of our topics that we're going through this summer. And I'd like you to just kind of pick one of the topics that is most appealing to you, or is kind of the reason that you have decided to be here today. So open up a post, and if you would just kind of say, well, I'd really kind of but I'm excited to learn about the background and highly effective strategies. Or are you here for the tools, or are you excited to kind of, jump into the unknown? So what are you excited to learn about this morning? And I'm going to give you a sec to think about that, and then we will go on to the next thing. Okay, so while you're doing that, I'm just going to choose to use these next couple of seconds to introduce myself and kind of where this session came from. So I am Stacy Lovedahl, and I'm the educator on loan for the western side of North Carolina, and I'm on loan from Catawba County Schools, where I am also an instructional technology facilitator and middle school science teacher, where, as I mentioned, I started flipping my class way back when. And I also have Heather Fulbright's picture up here on the screen screen because we developed this session together. And it's a version of something that we presented at NC Ties earlier this year. So this is kind of the virtual version of this and also updated for the Summer of AI webinar series. And also with me here today is Vera Cubero. So she is with the the Western Regional Consultant for the Digital Teaching and Learning Division. So we are here to kind of bring you all of the most recent happenings in the world of AI. So let me jump back over to the Padlet, and thank you guys for adding some things here. And there's also a column here for you to share any generative AI tips and tricks and things that you know about, because as this column says, AI is moving so fast that every time you turn around, something is changing. And so we are definitely better together in the world of education and definitely in the world of ed tech. So if you know something that really has been working out for you in your area, please share it in this column so others can learn from you. We're going to be sharing this Padlet all throughout the summer, so your tips and tricks will be shared with everybody who jumps into the Summer of AI Padlet. So you can check back here and see what is evolving over the summer. So we'll keep that there for you as we move on throughout the workshop. So the next thing I would really like to ask you guys to do is to share with me who's in the room. It really helps to know who's here and a little bit about you. So if you can scan the QR code and jump over to the Menti, or you can click on this link. So when you click on that, it's first going to ask you what your role is. And then I've got a couple of questions about just what AI tools you've been using and kind of how familiar you are with those. I'll go back to that. You can use your phone too. So let me go over here and grab my Menti. So here is how that's looking. We have a bunch of teachers, yay. We have some digital learning coaches, yay. We have some instructional coaches, yay. And we have some administrators, no administrators. We have some others. Who are our others? If you want to share who your other role in the chat, that would be awesome. And then next slide. This is one of my favorite Menti tools. I love a slider in action. So much fun. So familiar with personalized learning, lots of people familiar, super cool. Lots of people familiar with Magic School, also super cool. Not as familiar with EduAid. Okay, I'm going to give you some download on EduAid, okay, in the context of personalized learning. Amazing tool. Also, School AI also scores on sort of the medium side. So I want to show you some things about that. And not on the fence, because you're spending, the beginning of June here in the morning with me. So I would not surprised that you're not on the fence. So that's cool. Thank you so much for that info. I appreciate it. Okay, I'm going to slide you back off the screen. There we go. Okay, so let's get into it. Let me go on to my next thing. This is one of my favorite videos ever. I have had this video clip on here for more than a minute. It's from the AMLE, the Association of Middle Level Educators. And I just feel like, these kids are definitely my why, and being in schools whenever you are talking to kids about what we're doing, these are at the center of why we teach. In middle school, as I was watching one segment of this, where you've got that super tall kid walking into the same exact classroom door as one of the shorter kid, that just is exactly the students that I would see every day when I was teaching 7th and 8th grade science. You've got one little kid walking down the hallway, just literally spinning, and then you've got another set of girls girls who are just walking down the hall, just being too cool for school. So when we're talking about educational technology and artificial intelligence and using devices and screens and things like that in the classroom, the thing that I have to remember and is the reason we're using these devices is not the point of the technology, is not to use technology. The point of technology is to use these things to make our jobs easier, to make learning more relevant, and to prepare students to with the skills they need when they get out into the real world. And we talk to students, whether they're in early elementary, middle school, and in high school. When we get down to it, most of all, kids, humans want to belong. So I just love starting with, just centering myself in where we are and why we teach. So when you look at the definition of personalized learning in North Carolina, at the core of that definition is students, and it's student-centered and student agency. So we have in North Carolina, back in 2019, the 4 pillars of personalized learning with learner profiles, where students are asked to be able to identify their own strengths and weaknesses and personalize and preferences and goals, and have access to their own data so that they can define that for themselves at all levels of their education, beginning in elementary all the way up through high school. We have the individualized learning paths where students are asked to be able to manage their own personal academic goals and be able to have access to and control over their own path and pace of learning, and to be able to progress through competency-based progression through their own learning paths. And then to be able to do that in a flexible learning environment, whether that learning environment is in the physical space of their classroom or throughout the building or in a more hybrid learning environment. So those learning environments are available for you. There's a resource where you can learn more about that on the DPI's website. And I really like this quote that kind of talks about the goal of personalized learning is to shift from a teacher-focused learning environment to a more student-centered classroom. The one thing that I would add to this quote, though, to kind of update it a little bit for 2024, is that back when we envisioned personalized learning in 2019. The thing that sort of intervened between then and now is that we shifted a lot with the pandemic and hybrid learning, and this idea of blended learning changed people's perception of personalized learning. And so the one thing that I would say that we would think differently about right now, or maybe re-emphasize, is this idea of humanizing personalized learning and making sure that we remember that teachers and student interactions are at the center of learning. And so we have this idea of AI, artificial intelligence, right? But we also have HI, or human intelligence, and that we have humans in the loop, but we also have humans at the center of our interactions in our face-to-face environments. So I would ask you guys to jump over to the Padlet and share in that first column some information or some ideas about which pillar you identify with the most, or maybe on the flip side, which pillar you maybe are interested in learning about or finding tools to work with the most, because maybe they're the ones that are the most difficult or the most time consuming to implement in the classroom. And so I'm going to go over here and close out my voting tab and go over to my Padlet tab. So the next thing I wanted to talk about really quickly is to kind of set the groundwork for jumping into some of the AI tools that support personalized learning is some work by John Hattie, Invisible Learning. A lot of people have either read his book or visited his work on the Visible Learning website, and he's got a lot of videos out there about this distribution of highly effective strategies. And one of the main points that I took away from reading about visible learning is that you look at the effect sizes of the strategies and the things that we do in education is that a lot of things that the John Hattie says that the vast majority of the things that we do in education have a positive effect on student achievement. So if you look at the things that are above zero, so in effect have a net positive effect on learning. The majority of the things that we do in education do work. There are only a handful of things down here in the red zone that have a negative effect size. And those are things that a lot of times make sense. Absenteeism, bullying, those things have a negative effect. But the majority of things have a positive effect. And this line right here at point 4 is considered to be a year's worth of academic achievement or student growth. And so if you're above point 4, you're in the blue zone, then that is going to be more than a year's worth of growth. So if you're from here to here, then you're having a net positive greater than a year's worth of growth. So if we want to be above a year's worth of growth, then we need to be doing these highly effective strategies. So what relationship does personalized learning have with things that are above point 4? Well, a lot of things. If you look at the work of Maria Montessori and John Dewey, you could actually chat with them in a school AI space. I made one up that would work with that. So you could click on that and experience it from a user point of view. They all emphasized hands-on experiential learning. If you look at the work of Vygotsky and Piaget, they also emphasized learning that is matching the students' natural growth. And then if you look at I'm going to skip through this part right here. So all of these things are above point 4. So looking at things like self-reported grades, students having a metacognition ability, using formative assessment, students control over their own learning, giving kids feedback on their learning. All of these strategies are above point 4, and all of them are naturally part of a personalized learning classroom. So we are going to look at some of the things that lend themselves to a personalized learning classroom. So let's go over here to some of our tools, because this is where we would like to get into some of the details. So in School AI, for example, we have an example here where you can experience some school AI spaces that are related to the learner profile. So let's take a look at on slide 18, 3 examples of school AI spaces that are in alignment with the learner profile activities. So we have 2 examples of an academic strength finder and an example of ways that you could build self-regulation skills. So, and these are experienced from the student's point of view. So if you click on this one and enter your name and click join, hopefully it will let you in. It will prompt the student who joins to investigate their academic strengths and ask them by asking them questions. So in this case, it's saying, let's start by thinking about what subjects they enjoy most in school. So you could explore that one. There's another version of this one that is oriented towards 7th graders. So if you click on that one, you could explore that one by doing the same thing. So enter your name This one's a little bit more detailed. And if you would like to explore metacognition skills and self-regulation skills, you can click on that one. And so this one gives kids choices. So it asks them if they would like to play a game or hear a story. If they say hear a story, it asks them what kind of a story they would like to hear, depending on whether or not they were having trouble getting settled in the morning or having trouble coming into class after lunch or getting focused after class. So you could experiment with those. So these are examples of ways that you can use AI to support the learner profile from the student's point of view. So these are all things that are specifically in a personalized learning classroom that are from supporting students' understanding of their strengths and weaknesses, their interests and preferences, and then helping them advocate for themselves and manage their own learning progress. Goblin Tools is another AI tool that is specifically focused on supporting students and is a student-centered tool. Then on the other side of the equation, we have AI tools that are focused on supporting teachers and giving in a personalized learning classroom. So we have Magic School that is, it also has a student side, but I decided to focus more on how AI would support teachers on the in the learning profile side. So we have Magic School tools that have where you can use their team builder generator and then Raina to give teachers ways to create work for um, building relationships, analyzing data, and then they have a student support tab. So I would like to give you guys a chance to first explore some of the learner profile tools and open up the chat and see if you guys have any questions. Okay. So, are there questions about how you would use School AI to build any of those types of tools for the learner profile? And if you have questions, you could type them in the chat or put them in the Padlet. So everything that I'm showing so far is there are free and premium versions. In School AI, you can build all of these tools for free. You can give students access for free. The only thing that you run out of is the amount of participation. So there's a participant limit in School AI. On the Magic School side, when we get to there, you can create the tools for free, and you can on the student side and the teacher side right now. The on the team builder and plus Raina is not free, but you can. There's a way to do team builder and add the questions using a combination of the other tools. So I'll show you how to kind of add the tools together so that you can do everything in Magic School for free. Okay. All right, so let me go back to sharing and show you around Magic School a little bit. Okay, so clicking over to Magic School. So if you go into Magic School and um, for working on the learner profile part, I wanted to show you how to use Team Builder to support the learner profile. So if you are in person and you have materials, for example, and maybe you have 30 kids in your class, and maybe you have accidentally clicked that because I wasn't done yet. So I'm going to have materials. I'm going to have my 30 kids, and I'm going to have hula hoops. Okay, so it will generate an idea for you. So suppose we're going to do a team builder. We're going to have hula hoops. It'll give you instructions for the idea. It'll give you discussion. It'll say that you've got, a couple of different ideas for things to do. And in this particular case, it's telling you to do an activity that involves creating questions. If you have, in our case, we have the enterprise version until the end of the year because our district signed up for something, which is great. And so if I have enterprise and I'm lucky enough to have it, I can use this box at the bottom, which is access to Raina, and I can ask it to generate discussion questions and for the trivia questions or the discussion questions using access to this box, which is great. But if I don't have that, then because that's a premium feature, the thing that I could do is go back over to the Magic Tools box and look for assessment questions. So under assessment questions, I go over to multiple choice, which is a free tool, and I decide that I want maybe 20 questions. I could probably say more and say 30 if I wanted to, and say I want 30 questions for trivia, generate trivia questions, and it's the end of the year, so I want them to be fun questions. And click generate, and it'll generate a bunch of questions that are, you could do it based on an academic activity, but if this is going to be a fun icebreaker or a getting to know you activity, then you can do it that way. So I feel like there are ways that if you've got access to the to Raina and the chatbot, you can customize it within using Raina, using your premium access. But if you don't, then you can just do a combination of stacking the tools together that lets you get around that. Checking the chat. Do these work with career technical education classes like culinary arts? Definitely. When you're using planning, for example, and you wanted to do a lesson plan, you can choose whatever grade level you wanted. So it kind of narrows down. What that does is customize the language and the grade level a little bit. So suppose you had 10th grade under topic, standard, and objective, you would select your actual standard as close, and actually go to your standard course of study and put your standard in there as specifically as possible. possible, and then use the customization box under additional criteria to add as much information about your class as you needed to make sure that the AI has that information. I put in North Carolina Standard Course of Study. You can also add an attachment that could be your pacing guide, your essential standards, any background information, any rubrics that you have to make sure that it has that information. And um, get this to be smaller again, and then click generate. So you can definitely customize it to make it as specific as possible to what you need it to be. Okay, so let me go back over here to, so that's Magic School. There's another really good tool because underneath learner profiles, the other thing that we need to do as teachers is know our students really well and use our data with for ourselves, and then also share it with students so they have access to their own data. So one of the things that Magic School and Eduate are really good about is having giving access to a lot of data and allowing us to analyze it. So under data tables, you can customize it to your grade level, and then give in upload or access as much information as possible here, and then click generate using the data table feature. Have any of these companies been able to sign NC state terms and conditions for student data privacy? I know that each individual district is working with each vendor to do that. And as far as I know, Magic School in particular has done that in my case with Catawba County. So I think you'd have to check with each individual district to see how that's going. Thank you. And let's see, so let's go back to the next one that I wanted to show you under Magic School is the Student Support tab. So over here under planning, we're going to go over to student support. One of the other tools that I like about both Magic School and Eduaid is the student support tab, where there are a lot of really unique tools that you can help that can help you working with students. So I'm going to click on social stories. This one is a tab that lets you generate social stories about a particular event to help a student understand what to expect in that situation. So if you choose your grade level and then you type in information about whatever the situation might be for that particular student, so to help them get ready for just feel better prepared for what's going to happen. So suppose something is about to happen, in the upcoming days at school. So they're going to be getting ready to go on a field trip. And that might be something that's unusual. It's outside of their regular routine. And so you want to have some suggestions or some ways to help the student get ready for that event. So you can add that information in there. So this was generated pretty quickly. So you could, add some more details about it so they could be more customized to the particular situation. So you can help use AI to help, get some information and some suggestions to help the student get ready for whatever that event is. Okay, so I'm going to move on to the next one. So the next little tool that I want to give you a little bit of background in is Eduaid. Very similar tool to Magic School, but organized a little bit differently. So if you click over to Eduaid and sign in, you're going to see that Eduaid, so I'm going to go over here, has a bunch of tools that are going to provide some really helpful information to support the learner profile. The mindfulness tool is the first one that I want to click on and show you around. So I'm clicking back over here, and I'm going to go to assistant. So we have generators. Generators are going to be more of your day-to-day activities that you're doing in terms of lesson planning, cooperative learning, gamification, the teaching aspects of school. So, but if you click under assistant, then these are going to be more of the things that are the is sort of the logistics and planning activities of school. So we have professional duties, accessibility tools, and then wellness. So I'm clicking under wellness, and then here we have our mindfulness activity. So if you click on mindfulness, and I'm going to say, let's see, how about if we need to have some help with um, so suppose the keywords are that the student is having trouble with decision making. So if you type in the topic, one of the neat things that Eduade does is you can type in a keyword or a topic and then hit the enhance button. It will take your topic and enhance it into more of an essential question. So I typed in decision making and it turns it into students will demonstrate the ability to critically analyze information and consider multiple perspectives when making decisions. So much better than just a simple phrase, right? And then process-wise, you take that information and you add it to the workspace. So over here on the right-hand side is your workspace. So when I click that, it takes my keyword or topic and it knows that I want to create a mindfulness activity with that. And it adds that whole piece of information over here to the right-hand side to my workspace. And it creates an activity related to that. So the mindful activities, cultivating perspective, and it gives me a breathing technique for doing that. It gives me a script if I want to, if I need more assistance in leading that activity for the student, and how to wrap the whole thing up. And then down here at the bottom, it gives me suggestions for additional things that I might want to add to if I need to do something additional after this mindfulness activity. So the workflow for Eduade is a little bit different from some of the other tools where the assistant is the way it's organized. Here are your choices. Then you kind of analyze what you're going to do and then add it over here to the workspace. Everything that you create is saved over here underneath your history. So that's how you get back to it. Okay, I'm going to press pause right there and see if you have any questions about how that's working. Okay, we're good. All right, so I'm going to move on from learner profile over to, okay, that's my little check-in for the Padlet, in case you have questions. There's a couple of columns in the Padlet for the individual tools if you want to kind of share some aha moments about, Eduade, it seems like it's pretty cool. The chat goes away once we close the session, but the Padlet will live forever. So if you have some things you want to say about like kind of how the counselor, there was a comment in there about how the counseling department could get a lot of use out of the self-regulation tools, that kind of thing. That's great to share in the Padlet because others would definitely take a look at that and find that really useful. Okay, so I'm going to move on and go over to individualized learning paths and a little bit about how we can use these three tools for that pillar of personalized learning. So School AI has a lot of great uses for creating individualized learning paths. And the idea in personalized learning is that students will be able to have some control out of their time, pace, path, and place in personalized learning. So instead of a lot of direct instruction, students would be able to, kind of know where they need to ultimately get to within a learning goal, and then be able to have some choice over how they get there and how they move through that learning path. A lot of companies will be able to say, well, we have a tool for that, so let's just put kids in front of a screen and let them do that. And that's one way. So a tool, an educational company could be kind of a stop along a learning path, but there can be other things on your learning path as well. There can be stations in your classroom where kids work together, and that could be a component of a learning path or a playlist. There can be projects on a learning path. So a learning path can be customized to contain a lot of different things. So school AI spaces can be a component of a pathway or a playlist. So if you click on this link, it's going to take you over to a Wakelet that has a lot of choices for you to explore of ways that School AI can be customized to address just a whole lot of different curriculum objectives. So the first one in the upper left-hand corner here is a School AI space that is a strategy that teachers have used in classrooms for a really long time. I used to think, now I think. We've done that paper and pencil. We've done that in a think, pair, share for a really long time. You can also do that with a School AI space. So if you click on that and you join that space, and it will ask you, what did you used to think? And what do you think now? So it can be a real personalized way to just kind of have an interaction with a impersonal third-party bot that will just kind of push your thinking and interact with you about whatever the topic is that you're thinking about. And sometimes it's really helpful. Sometimes you might want to just do that paper and pencil. Sometimes you might want to do that with a person. So it's kind of a cool way to think about using AI with this use. I used to think, now I think. You can also make them up to talk with, and we've heard a lot about chatting with historical figures and book characters and things like that. You can also make up a space for very specific standards. There's one that I made up for a student, for a science teacher, specifically for forces in motion. We experimented with doing a lot of versions of that to kind of see which ones we liked the best. We made up a space for navigating nonfiction. This one will actually make a nonfiction passage for kids, unique for each student as they signed in. And we did a lot of playing with this to make sure that it made the nonfiction passages so that it matched the Lexile level that we were requesting it to do. And we tested it with this Lexile Lexile Hub, which it turns out we have a membership to. So a lot of different things to experiment with here. So I'm going to point you to this, and then there's also another version of this where you can, if you want to make a copy of these spaces and put them in your own School AI account, then you can get the teacher. These, you're signing in. Want to get the access to the teacher side of it so you can see kind of the guts of how this thing was created, then I'll give you the link to that back in the resource page at the end of this. Okay, so quick before I move on, are there any questions about School AI Spaces? This is not a how to create it, but we definitely have a chance to do that in later versions of these webinars. Okay, the next one that I want to talk to you about a little bit is Eduaid and cooperative learning stations and how Eduaid is set up to assist with that. So let me go over and close some of these so I can go over to Eduaid. So in Eduaid, remember how I told you that we have the assistants, which are the professional duties kind of side of Eduaid, but up here under Generator, you can go over here to the Cooperative Learning tab, and Learning Stations is really organized really well for personalized learning classrooms. So when you click on Learning Stations and then go down here to topic or keyword and enter in your standards. So suppose you are studying, say, cell transport by diffusion. So you'd enter in either a very specific learning standard or learning goal, or maybe your actual standards. In this case, I'm just going to put a goal or a topic, and then I could click Enhance. I probably need to X out my previous thing. And then add it to your workspace, and then it will create a learning station activity for your for your topic or your standard, so that you would find that under cooperative learning. Okay, and then the next one that I want to show you is under Magic School, where you can put a series of their generators together to create a playlist. So, a personalized learning playlist a lot of times is really time consuming to put together for teachers. And part of it is because unpacking the standards and analyzing the learning goals and doing all of that by hand is a little bit time consuming. So, if you put a series of the generators together in Magic School, you could also do it in EduAid, is a much less time consuming way to do it using AI. Okay, so and this is a way to do that using it spells out the steps to do that using Magic School. So I am going to go on to the next thing because I'm kind of looking at the time and I don't want to use up all the time with this because I want to definitely get to the last one, which is competency based progression and some of the creative sides of things. So the last thing I want to talk about is competency based progression, which is this idea that you're going to allow students to move along to their and show evidence of their learning in a more creative way. So we have the last few tools, which are Adobe Express and Canva, which are very creative, and then Quizzes AI and EduAid, which are ways to do assessments on the teacher side. So let's look at Canva Magic Studio and show some ways that that can be used to show evidence of learning. I'm not quite sure why it is doing this. There we go. I am going to skip this one and go to the next one. Okay, I'm going to skip Canva for right now because it's not doing what I expected it to do and show you the last one, which is our AI bonus bits and bytes. So the last thing I'd like to share with you is say what you see. So if you click on AI bits and bytes right here on slide number 24, it's going to take you over to this website from Google Arts and Culture. And it is a way to experiment without having to create an account and to experiment with prompting and learning how to pay attention to detail, learn some prompting skills. It has a lot, can teach kids some literacy skills and some ways to analyze. So, and it's also a lot of fun. We shared these with everybody at the AI Summit. And so when you click on the template on the next page, you'll be able to have access to it. So when you go over here and click Launch the Experiment, it'll take you to level 1. It's a little bit gamified and shows you an example. And it has has a little bit of a format here, so it kind of shows you the keywords. And go ahead and click Let's Begin. So right here, when you look at this image, it's all the same for everybody. So Cynthia asks, can you choose a grade level? It's all the same. And no matter how many times you do it, I've always gotten this very first one. So over here, you have to choose your caption to try to describe this picture. So you have this open-ended box right here. You have 120 characters in order to say or type what you see. And as soon as you click enter, it'll tell you how close you got and it'll give you an image. So I challenge you to take a minute to say what you see. And I won't start typing yet so that I won't, because I've done it before and I've gotten kind of close. I felt like I was closer than they thought that I was. I'm not even going to type it. Okay, so if you're playing along, how close did you get? Oh, okay. So if you go over here and we're on slide 24, click on AI Bits and Bytes. That link will take you there. And then click launch experiment. Start level 1. Let's begin. I'm just going to say that. I got a 56. Okay, so moving on to the next thing. So for bonus templates, you have a couple of things here that if you click on these links, you can use those for PD if you need to. You've got a link to the bits and bytes, so you could use that to share with people if you need anything for information later. And I would give you a challenge to in the future as you're going through planning or getting ready for next year to just think about things about how AI can help you do this, or how can AI help you do things differently. So is there a tool out there that you can say, let me just ask AI and see what things how things might change. And we have a lot of resources in for educators to use to teach AI. So there are a lot of links here for literacy resources, AI for education. So if you're using this with your students, you don't have to start from scratch. There are people out there who have thought a lot of things and are sharing things really, really, really widely, and we're updating these all the time. And there's a Wakelet. There's basically a Wakelet or a resource for everything. So go ahead and click here and save these, bookmark them, or and come back to them later, because we're adding things all the time. And I would say that these May webinars, we have one this afternoon on the power of prompting. We have several going on Wednesdays in June and July, all the way through August. So come back to this link and you'll be able to see the updates or the recordings, and a lot more information resources here. This is some of the information that I used to prepare the workshop, and I wanted to save some time for Q&A at the end. And thank you guys for being here this morning. I really appreciate it.
Hey, Stacey, I also added the link to the evaluation or feedback form in the chat. Just want to remind people, to get credit for being here live, you do need to complete the feedback form.
Very good. Let's see. Can I use this in AI in Python? I am not sure I understand your question.
You can use AI to generate Python code. Not sure if that's what you're asking, but AI is great for generating code. You can, even now with the new ChatGPT, you can show a picture of an app and ask it to generate code to create the app.
Yeah. And I know in Magic School, if you have students who you give Magic School student access to their chatbot, Raina, students can have access to that. and they can ask it questions about any subject.
And I put in the chat, but coding's actually the number one use case for generative AI right now. Has been since the start. So definitely can use it for your coding classes.